Hi, so I'm Dr. Noorul Hasan. I'm a non-PGJR in community psychiatry. Okay, so welcome you all for this Lay Counsellor Module 7. I think this is my first presentation in this 7th module, I hope. So, and I'll be taking some more classes in this module. So, hope you will enjoy. So, today the topic given to me or assigned to me is stress and its management. I know it's a very common topic, so I don't know within this 1 hour or 1 hour 15 minutes, I don't know how I will do justice to this topic. Okay, now we will move on to the session. Yeah, sorry for the delay. So there are a couple of disclaimers from my side. Okay, so stress is not purely a psychiatric monopoly. So many people have presented it in different perspectives. So since I'm a psychiatrist, I may take you a little deeper into the biological or sometimes genetic aspects than behavioral. So feel free to clarify your doubts in the comments below. Okay. And I may not be able to teach you all the coping or psychological management skills except a few. So for other techniques, use your YouTube to learn more. So because lots and lots of techniques nowadays available from basic coping to and different types of breathing exercises. Okay, you can actually find many things and you can adopt for your clients whatever kind of amenable for your client. Okay, so moving on to the core part of this session. So before describe many things about stress, let me give a definition of stress. Okay, first thing, and we have three things here. We have to define and understand what is stress. Second thing, what is distress, and what is a disorder. Okay, so you can see in the screen, stress is a physical, mental, or emotional factor that causes bodily or mental tension. Okay, so it can be the stressor can be or the cause can be the internal or external, and it is a day-to-day event. Okay, so this is the initial part or the initial part of any issue. And the second definition is distress. It is a stirred up negative state. So now, first thing, the stress, we have a couple of physical and mental and emotional features. Now we move into a stirred up negative state, persisting state. When this state goes for very, very long time and your quality of life or your biological, social, or occupational function is decompensated, then you can actually call that as a disorder. So an extreme negative state where the coping strategies have failed to bring back to the normal state. Okay, so I'm not going to describe coping here that I'm handling at the end of the session. Okay, so this is the definition of the three important taxonomy which is related to this class. Now, these are the types of stress. Okay, there is no standard classification for stress. Okay, and people have classified stress in many conveniences. So number one is psychological, number two physical, number three is psychosocial. These three are depend upon the what the causative agent, whether it is internal or physical or it is a surrounding psychosocial. And the next three you can see the acute, episodic, and chronic. So this classification depends upon is how it starts and how frequently it happens and how much duration it prolongs. So depend upon the second three classify. So together psychological, physical, and psychosocial, and then acute, episodic, acute stress, and chronic stress. Okay. Don't worry, I'm going to describe many things about stress. So if you are kind of little blur in this state, and no worries, I'm explaining further deep into the concept of stress. Okay. So now these are the general symptoms of stress. Okay. There are three domains that we have to consider. So first is behavioral. When you feel the state or emotional state of being stressful, what are the abnormalities that you can have? Okay, number one, you may have issues in handling interpersonal relationships, and or emotionally you might be irritable, and indecisive about your day-to-day concern, and you may increase your smoking behavior, sometimes excessive eating and alcohol consumption. These all the behavioral parts are and can be outcome of your stress. And the second thing, cognitive. So that means chinta, I mean sindana in Tamil term. So in that sense, what are the factors in terms of stress here is cognitively you'll end up okay increase in committing your mistakes in terms of your day-to-day work, poor concentration. These are all the cognitive level of outcome of the stress. And third thing, psychologically, how the stress kind of presence is, and people may have headache, bodily aches, pains, dizziness, and this may contribute to some lots of cardiovascular disturbances, blood pressure, tachycardia. Sometimes people may feel breathless. Okay, these are all the part and outcome of the stress. Okay, uh, now you can tell me. So I'm asking, choose the best one. So among these five, I don't know. I know this is a very kind of paradoxical question, but there is no single answer for this. Okay, stress is a normal day-to-day phenomenon, and it is a day-to-day dynamic event or state, and it is a paranormal phenomenon, you can say, and it is a immature psychological phenomenon. Okay, to the psychological level, and is a part of common and severe mental disorders. Okay, like anxiety disorder, depression, and other trauma-related PTSD. So this can be a part of a common mental disorder, at times a part of severe mental disorder also. Okay, this is a small introduction about what is stress. Now, so before describing more and more into the features of stress, so I can give you, so being a counselor, you need to know more in terms of patient or case perspective than understanding more and more in terms of theoretical way. So I am going to give you 5 case scenario that will cover I am almost 90% of your client population. Okay. So you have to think through the case, and you have to make your own way of evaluation and solutions for this case, how you can handle better in order to kind of giving counseling to this patient who came with the significant issue of stress. Okay, and how will you analyze this case in a biological way, in a psychological way, and in a social way. So we'll start with the case scenarios. Number one, so I know I hope many of people here who participated in this module are engineers. So example, you are in a car company, okay, and you are a kind of assistant engineer or engineer. So you have been given a task of completing a design for a mold, okay. You know what is mold. So example, a car is there, so the front part, the bumper, so you are assigned a task of designing a mold for a part of a bumper or a dashboard like that. Okay, and your deadline is given as a 3 days. Okay, now, so instead of starting the work as soon as possible, so you are kind of preoccupied about completing the task in a much perfect manner in the end. So in order to do it perfectly, so you thought of analyzing many things related to designing of this mold. So the perfection related preoccupation lead to delaying the task. I mean, initiating the task delayed. It's called procrastination. Okay. So, and then finally you are end up in starting the task. So those started with little delay, highly concerned about each and every small issues, and you are correcting one by one, and you are taking enormous time. Finally, the deadline is crossed. Now, since the time is crossed, and your superiors are kind of bugging on you, hey, what happened to the mold, like that. So now you are extremely preoccupied, restless in terms of mind and body, and unable to do complex tasks and unable to think rationally further in terms of finishing this mold business. So makes many mistakes in this process in completing this task and unable to complete it properly, and you are heavily scolded by your superior or manager or senior manager or HR like that. Finally, with significant delay, person was able to complete the task with lots of trivial and major issues. So now he's in a state called stress, which has significant preoccupation in the central box, restlessness, anxiety, and he's feeling shaky, dull mood, unhappiness, less sleep, palpitations, feeling breathless. So these are all the one or the other symptom that he has been having while completing this task. You know, the whole case scenario says to us only one thing: whether you are perfect or not imperfect, start the task as early as possible. So this is the kind of, yeah, kind of um, you kind of learning task from this case scenario. So I will tell you how to kind of evaluate and analyze this case and giving you the solutions. Okay. So this is the stress related to perfection and preoccupation. Now we are moving to case number 2. So mother gave birth to a male child. So the child noted to have anomalies. So it means physical issues, and the physique is not good, or brain is not well grown, or he or she has issues in limbs, shorter limbs, or kind of malformed limbs. So and the one task is he is mentally retarded and has behavioral disturbances. So child behaviors are highly not age appropriate and place appropriate. Okay, not place appropriate and age appropriate. So at many levels, child needs assistance from mother. So in spite of treatment, persistent to receive complaints from schools and surroundings because of the behavioral disturbances that child has. Okay, and so now what happened to mother? So mother become physically and mentally burned out. So not that great support from the family members she is getting. So persistent worries about the future in terms of the child life and hers life. So he has been in the state of stress with preoccupation, restless, anxious, shaky, dull mood, unhappy. So this is the second scenario. Unlike the first scenario, here you can't give a definite solution, okay, to the mother. So you can't give a solution of completely correcting the child. So again, our task is difficult. Okay, so now we have to handle the stress in the mother. Okay, and we are unable to give any solution. Okay, how we are going to handle this is the second kind of you have to think through, and you have to provide your valuable evaluation and solution for this client. Now the third scenario. So a person, sorry for the mistake, who is very much concerned about health. Okay, and COVID pandemic started. Now his preoccupation about the health is increased. Obviously, okay, everyone experienced the same. I hope you all, and started browsing to know more about the disease and its risk. Okay, so became extremely rigid in taking precautions. Example, daily spends 1 to 2 hours in knowing more and more about the disease, following daily cases and mortality reports from the ministry website, and he is taking more and more precautions. This precaution taking time and duration is increased on day by day. Okay, so example, he is using double mask, extravagant use of hand sanitizer. Every minute he is using hand sanitizers, frequent hand washing, and scolds everyone whose mask is a little bit lower from the nose. Okay, so and persistent worries about how he is going to take care of his health. So in this pandemic, and he daily he is seeing the updates about mortality and morbidity, and his kind of the emotional state of stress is being increased. So preoccupied, restless, and the same features again. Okay, so this is kind of little okay and manageable task if he doesn't have any severe mental illness like OCD behind this, or any other hypochondriacal disorder behind this. I think it is quite a little bit easy to handle this case. So as a lay counselors, you are listening to this talk, so try to make solutions and guidance for this client too. And case number 4. So mother bringing the child to your counseling clinic. Okay, child coming to the home from school with tension and sadness. Okay, for the last 3 to 4 months. Child doesn't understand his problem, but becoming stressful as soon as he enters a classroom, school. Okay, but he or she was a good student academically well before 4 months. So parents trying their level best to clarify the child problem, but uh, both mother and child became stressful, and parents were unable to understand what is going on, and child's academic performance becoming slowly worsen, and the emotional state also kind of little bit affected in the home also. So she's bringing the child to a good psychiatrist who is evaluating in both the perspective. One is a mental illness perspective, and second is any organic related perspective. And he has a mild suspicion that uh, he or she, the child, becoming stressful as soon as he enters the school. Then he tries to evaluate whether bullying happened or any corporal punishment given by a teacher, and slowly he got an idea. As soon as child starts kind of listening to this class, the child becomes stressful. Okay, and he found out that he or she might be having a refractory error. So that is the reason for developing stress while seeing the board. Okay, because child also not knowing what happened, because 3 months back, 4 months back, he or she was normal. Now he is unable to concentrate because of the refractory issue. So and he clarified some history from the child, and he referred to a ophthalmologist. So being a psychiatrist or a counselor or psychologist, you should not think only about the mental related causes. You have to think beyond the box, and you have to just rule out, since a child and significantly normal before 4 months, what happened, and issues are significantly related to the school timings. So, and really the psychiatrist taken a very good call in this case. And after the evaluation and management with the ophthalmologist, the eye doctor, so he or she became normal. So always think out of box in terms of ruling out the causes, especially while you are handling a child case. Okay, so now this is the most common issue in this world, or in this era, especially people who born after 95, who are in adolescent or adult stage now. So you can identify what I am trying to say: the single tick, double tick, blue tick, lost scene, why not replied it, and what is the meaning for the emoji. These are all the if you can randomly spot an adult. Okay, and the in between the lovers, the most common issue is what. So I have messaged you at 11 o'clock, and I noticed there was a blue tick and you have not replied, and your last scene was only at 11 o'clock, and I have messaged you at around 11:30, and you have not seen my message till in the late morning. Why is the reason, and what's the meaning of this emoji? So the among so almost people who are in the first year of their PGs, when they are encountering this kind of infatuation related thoughts, the most common stress that they are kind of experiencing this. Okay, so don't ask my experience in this. Okay, and you can understand how much issue this kind of confusions will create. So these are all the part of stress, and this is called I am my own taxonomy. This is so what's up stress I can say. Okay, and actually this is not my own thinking. So you actually in child psychiatry you can literally spot this kind of complaints from a child who is in relation like that. So we are coming to the most important part, is stress in terms of couple IPR issue. IPR in the sense interpersonal related issues. Okay, so let me kind of read out this case scenario. So couple reached out to your center with history of interpersonal related issues. So couple started telling their stories, what happened in the home. So in the middle of the conversation, you can notice both started fighting each other. Okay, and so wife started complaining about the husband, or husband started complaining about the wife. Some complaints about the husband or wife is about not giving independence, especially in the conservative culture. Husband not giving enough independence for the wife is one of the very important concern. That will slowly lead to a stressful state in the wife. And the second thing, some complaints are related to demoralizing her expectations. Okay, in front of the relatives and all, and some are related to the boundary violations. Okay, so let me explain this boundary violations and all separately in an interpersonal related area. Okay, that I am going to discuss a little bit later. And other complaints can be poor support from the husband in rearing the children. So one very common complaint that a wife can tell to you is the I don't have any support from husband rearing of the child. So at the end, both of them lost their peace of mind. I mean, both husband and wife lost their peace of mind in the couple life, and kind of wife or husband entering this emotionally stressful phase with the preoccupation, restless, anxious, and very unhappy, not enjoying their normal day-to-day life or sexual life. So that's how the stress comes out. Now, so the stress can be of the origin of stress can be of anything, example, environmental, occupational, interpersonal, and many things. So, and you should understand that 90% of the stress is due to the poor interpersonal management. So, so as a skillful counselor is the one who understand and analyze the IPR issues in an efficient way, because after doing psychiatry or clinical psychology for this much year, or doing PhD in psychiatry or clinical psychology for this much year, so the one important skill a psychiatrist or a psychologist who learning doing the MD or MPhil time is analyzing these interpersonal issues in a in a broader way. Okay, because example, handling interpersonal relation issues in a couple is not an easy business. It's very difficult unless we understand each and every aspect of this interpersonal relation. We can't give any possible solution for them. So whenever you are spotting a stress, always kind of consider the most common cause might be interpersonal. So what are the interpersonal related stress that I will discuss little now. So this is one article written by Engels in 1980, and this is called Biopsychosocial Model for the cause of any psychiatric issue. Basically, this article actually addressed or written by kind of explaining the myocardial infarction, that is a heart attack. So why I'm putting it here is, in terms of stress, the cause can be at any level, okay, but wherever the cause, but the impact or the consequence can be at the molecular level, systemic level. Okay. Example, starting from the biosphere, society, nation, culture, subculture, community, family, person, and later any issue in this area. Example. So this is the so this is a see biosphere, society, nation, community. So till the person. So the stress can be at any level. Okay, and any stress in this area, okay, can obviously affect your system, example nervous system, and most commonly the cardiovascular system. And what a prolonged stress is there, okay, and he was unable to cope up, or it kind of decompensating, and a mother kind of issues in the family in terms of the children or husband, prolonged stress, and our culture doesn't allow any women to explain their stress. Okay, this kind of conservative culture is there, and there are many cases that I have spotted in my practice. So finally the mother is ending up in a kind of a cardiovascular arrest state, and later, and the doctor is saying that I can't diagnose any myocardial infarction, rather I can diagnose some kind of heart is becoming swell, and the term called cardiomyopathy. It is called stress-induced cardiomyopathy. So what I'm trying to say is, any issues in the surrounding, if it is very persisting and is not properly handled or coped, it can significantly affect your system till the molecular level. So that is what the example that I gave. Your mother, a stressful life, not handled, not coped, and finally ending up in a cardiomyopathy state. So there is called stress-induced cardiomyopathy. Nowadays, it is happening very commonly in our lives. So whenever you are analyzing interpersonal issues, you have to consider every parameter, okay, in terms of interpersonal relations. So now, interpersonal relations is not that easy, okay. Example, uh, the skill or the behavior expected from you at the age of 10 years is different, and at the age of 20 years is different, at the age of 30 when you are married is different, at the age of 30 35 when you are a father, the expected behavior is from you is different. So each stage of life demands a different level of life skill set. Okay, so it's not a very concrete way where, but it is a kind of a dynamic. So at different age, you have to express a different type of skill in order to handle the kind of interpersonal relations. Okay, that's what I'm trying to explain in this diagram. So your responsibility and behavior expected from you is of highly age dependence, and it should dynamically vary depend upon the age. Okay, if you are showing a 20-year behavior at the age of 30, then it won't be accepted. It may lead to lots of boundary violation and obviously will lead to interpersonal relation issues. Okay, now, so interpersonal relations, what are the common causes for stress? So in interpersonal, in the sense, okay, so there is a victim and another one is a perpetrator. Okay, so not always that victim will develop kind of stressful state. Sometimes the administrator also can develop a stressful state because he or she is unable to handle you in a proper way. Because of that, a task is not getting completed. Okay, so interperson in the sense, both the people can be affected. It's not always like a man who is working and below someone will be affected. Not always the people who are superior will be affected. Nothing like that. Okay, because in order to complete a project or a target or a task, everyone have different responsibilities. Superiors have some responsibilities, and the people who are subordinates are having different responsibilities. So interpersonal doesn't always note people who are subordinates, so the stress can happen at all levels of administration. Okay, now, so if you come to the couple, so the stress can be mainly related to the independency and expectation crisis. Okay, uh, this first thing. Second thing, and in relation, what most commonly happens is he's very close to me, so taking things for granted. This will end up in some fight, and finally, you or the opposite person will end up in the stressful state. And the boundary violations. So I will explain about the boundaries, which are the one of the important cause for stress in interpersonal related things. Okay, that I will be explaining in the next slide. And poor assertiveness skills. That is. When I have to say yes, when I have to say no. People always say yes because they are very scared to say no, and they will think that if I say no, people won't like me. If I say no, people will think that I am very lazy. So this kind of on the poor distorted thinking will lead to poor assertiveness skills, and they will end up in a state of stress. Okay, and suspicious personality. So example, husband is very suspicious, not of a very kind of a paranoid related psychiatric issues. Rather, he might be always suspicious about the wife. So wife will end up in kind of a lack of independence and finally stressful state. And nowadays, this is the era where parents are coming to the psychiatrist because of the child. My child behavior is not there. I'm always receiving complaint. My child is using substance. My child is using ganja. My child is using this and that. And because of that, there are lots of harassment from the community level. Lots of complaint about the child to the parents. So finally, parents are feeling that they were demoralized enough, and they will be in a state of stress, and they are coming to you for the same reason. Okay, now, and the last one I told, the interpersonal management deficit in working place or studying. Okay, now, uh, boundaries. Okay, so as a lay counselors, okay, you should understand this concept of boundaries very well in terms of interpersonal relations. So there are three types, okay, most common types. One is diffuse or enmeshed, and second is rigid or disengaged, and third one is clear. So I won't define it in a proper linguistic terms, rather I will give example. Okay, so diffuse or enmeshed. So you to your friend, close friend, and you to your close sibling. Okay, this is called diffuse and enmeshed. Okay, you can share anything you want. Okay, and not all the time. Some people maintain a rigid disengage or professional boundary with their spouse also. So most of the time, the boundary between the couple is always diffuse and enmeshed, and they will share everything. So, and the second thing is rigid or disengaged. People will maintain lots of secrecy. They won't share some things to the nearby people or their so they are their kind of spouse or blood relations, siblings, and all. So, and third one is kind of a professional type, clear kind of boundary. Example, you are meeting with your professors, your superior colleagues. You know what to speak, what not to speak. You know what to ask, what not to ask. So I can't say that this boundary is good, this boundary is bad. Rather, it is different. So where to maintain which boundary? Okay, let me give an example. So with your brother, you can maintain either a clear boundary or you can maintain a diffuse, and you are privileged to use these diffuse or very enmeshed boundaries. Okay, but your brother is getting married, example. Okay, and you have your kind of Bobby with his wife, so you have to maintain a rigid or clear boundary. So you can't use the same type of boundary with brother's wife. So if that happens, all the ruggers fights will come in this family. So this is a small example about the boundary. So you should be clear where to maintain this diffuse or enmeshed boundary, and where to maintain this rigid or disengaged boundary, and where to maintain this clear boundary. Example, husband and wife. Okay, if they are maintaining a very rigid and disengaged boundary means, then the understanding between the couple is very bad, and any small issue can actually kind of litter out a big fight between them. So this is the so these are the some understanding about the boundaries in relationship, because if this boundary is violated, so always this is the reason for any stress in the family. So in order to understand little more deeper, so what are the basic kind of what prerequisites or elements of this boundary means. So it is, this is a dynamic role change. So depend upon your role, it may change. Example, before marriage, you might be having a different type of boundary with your brother, but after your brother getting married, so you should have to maintain some kind of decorum. So, and you have to maintain some secrecy in the boundary. Example, certain thing you can share to your close colleague or friend or to your spouse, and the same secret thing you should not share to some other people, where you have to maintain a clear boundary. So in that sense, the boundary violation will always lead to lots of interpersonal affairs. So if you are kind of spotting a interpersonal related stress, always analyze in a very broad way, from the initial to, and especially give more importance to the boundary related issues. Okay, this is something about interpersonal related issues and stress and boundary violations. Okay, now stress as a part of mental disorder. Okay, I told you there are some features of stress. I told the preoccupation, unhappiness, a feeling of uneasiness, feeling of unhappy. So this can be a part of any mental disorder. Example, it can be a part of anxiety or depression. Okay, the symptoms of depression or low mood, you're feeling always tired and not unable to enjoy the previously enjoyable moment, and always lacking interest about the day-to-day activities, feeling always sleepy or sleepless, having loss of appetite. These are all the part of depressive symptoms. So the stress can be a part of depression, anxiety, and it can be a part of post-traumatic stress disorder if the stress is very heavy, or very heavy and acute. Okay, and stress always can lead to psychosis, and in psychosis, the schizophrenia is there. There will be kind of there will be a condition where they will continuously hear as like some people is speaking to them, some people is scolding them. So because of that psychopathology, they may develop stress. So you should be very cognizant in terms of evaluating it, and you have to rule out the common mental disorders first, because if it is a common mental disorders, either he may need a structured psychotherapy or he may need a pharmacological management. So you should be very cognizant in terms of identifying them and referring to the psychiatrist properly. So now, what is the impact of this stress? So why we are discussing this topic in a much broader way, in a sensitive way? Why we have to discuss? Okay, so this, and the flow chart describes something about that, and understand this is not kind of my own thinking or my assumptions. Rather, these are all the case report that I have tried to compile it. For example, there are I have explained something in the lower part about the cardiovascular changes and stress. So this is actually kind of there was study, and they have analyzed a group of people who developed mental myocardial infarction or heart attack or cardiomyopathy changes. So they retrospectively they got the history, and they came to know that they had been gone through lots of stress in their life. So let me start with this flowchart. So stress in home, interpersonal relations, or workplace. So which leads to persistent mental, physiological, and physical state. Okay, I already told that. And significant limitations in quality of life and biological, social, and occupational functioning. And this is not kind of properly sorted out or coped out. So that leads to persisting stress in the life. And example, once some small stress started in the some 5 or 6 years back, it is not sorted out, not properly coped out, and slowly it will lead to some long-term systemic changes. And one of the example of the systemic changes is, so people made because of the complete stressful state, there's something called autonomic nervous system. Okay, if your autonomic nervous system is persistently active, there will be significant load to the heart. So in that sense, they may develop a cardiovascular event, and sometimes they will develop a swelling of the heart walls. That is called stress-induced cardiomyopathy. And understand, the stress-induced cardiomyopathy is not an easy thing. It may lead to sudden cardiovascular failure also. So this is one of the very important impact of persisting stress in life. So when you spot this kind of people, instead of analyzing only this kind of stress-related feature, rather you have to rule out any major or severe mental disorders. Okay, common or severe mental disorders. And if you see in the right side, genetic changes. So let me give an example. This is not an example, it's actually a research study. See, so what happened is there are two groups of staff nurses, I mean nursing, okay, nurses in working in a hospital. From the common pool example, 100 nursing people were selected, and 50 of them kind of allocated to A and 50 of them allocated to B. Okay, this B group people were kind of assigned to work in normal wards, okay, normal admission wards in hospital. And the group A were assigned to work in emergency department, emergency or further step down emergency department. If you come to Nimhans, if you go to neurocasualty, you can see how much busy the doctors or nurses are. They are roaming around throughout their 8 hours or 12-hour shifts. Okay, so after a couple of months, 6 to 12 months, they they have not developed any kind of a severe or common mental disorders. Rather, the group A who are assigned to the emergency department were in the complete stressful state, because uh, taking care of the emergent and kind of very what people who are striving for their life, and they are brought by the family members. We have to take care of that. We have to follow the orders given by doctor very fastly. So they will be in a very stressful state for completely over the 8 or 10, 12 hours. So stressful, and they always know whenever they start their work, whenever the cases are very high, they will develop some kind of panic attacks, or feeling palpitation, breathless, dryness of mouth. They may not drink more water during the time, so they won't take enough amount of food, and so they will be in a persistent stressful state for a very long time. And another group assigned to the common ward, uh, they are not running very kind of severe or busy life, rather it's a kind of normal life. Okay, so after a couple of after 1 year, okay, or 1.5 years, a genetic analysis being done for both group A and group B. So significantly compared to group B, so they found many changes in the genes, okay, of the group A people, okay, who are working in the emergency department, and they are finding out lots of methylation or chemical changes in the genetic level. So that means we were thinking, many people know that gene is a permanent thing and it can't be changed after birth. Like that, people are thinking, but gene can be affected even in stresses or stress also. Okay, so if such kind of changes, genetic change happen in gene at this kind of childhood or adolescent or early adulthood phase, so it can actually change the long-term outcome of the patient, or sometimes it may alter this personality. Example, people who underwent a significant sexual assault in their in the childhood age, so they may develop some kind of morbid personality. They may develop some kind of morbid personality in the future. So after analyzing those people who traverse from the normal childhood, after stress they are ending up in a personality disorder, we are kind of researchers are spotting many genetic changes. So, and they are feeling that the long term outcomes could be a part of this kind of genetic changes. So I know I'm going a little deep, but you have to understand the impact of being stressful for a long time. So it is mandatory for us to analyze, evaluate, and treat and counsel those patients. So if needed, if you feel it is severe enough for medication, you can refer to the psychiatrist. Okay. Now, so now I am coming a little deeper in a psychological way about the stress and genesis. Okay, so you need to understand some 4 or 5 important terminologies how your feel of emotion of stress comes out. Okay, first thing. So before I summarize, I will just explain what are these 5 or 6 terminologies. Number one, uh, every human being having some belief. Okay, uh, which is kind of very essence of how we see ourselves, okay, other people and the world and the future. Okay, so this changes between every individual. This is called core belief. Okay, in the essence of how we see ourselves, the surrounding, the world and other people. Okay, this is called core beliefs. And this kind of core belief are activated in many of the surroundings, okay, many of the situations. And this can be outcome of your culture, your religion, your type of brought up by your parents, everything determines this. Okay, and second thing you need to understand is the schemas. Okay, schemas is kind of describes a pattern of thought, okay, or behavior that organizes categories of information and relationships among them. Okay, that simply is one of the outcome of a core belief where how the your thought patterns get arranged or related to each other. Okay, whenever you are spotting a event or a stimulus. Okay, so core belief, from that a schema or schemata is coming out, thoughts and behaviors coming out. Okay, how you approach, okay, this is coming out. And um, yeah, so these are the difference between core beliefs and schemas. Okay, so the core beliefs are very characteristic recurrent themes. Okay, but schema is how it kind of getting executed, a protocol template at which how the thoughts and behaviors are related. Okay, and core belief is the central ideas of self and world, so how you are seeing the world and self. Okay, but schema include perspectives, expectations. Okay, and the schema always aids in selecting relevant information, okay, from the overwhelming data. So it's kind of very a streamline from a core belief. Okay, now cognitive distortions. Okay, this means a cognition which is distorted. Okay, I will give a lot of example in the next slide. Now, automatic thoughts. Okay, that means a thought that intervenes before a mature thought comes out. Let me explain this. Okay, listen carefully. Uh, a cricket match is happening. Okay, and batsman, bowler is there, and example, a man called Ravi, okay, assigned to bowl the last over of the match. So, and he is kind of, he has only 2 balls left and he has to score 6 runs. Okay. So but one ball, the fifth ball that Ravi is bowling, and the ball was 6. Okay. The batsman hit a 6 in that fifth ball, and the opposite team won the match. Okay. So if that's the case, during this time, what are the possible thoughts can Ravi can get? Okay, just think over, and then let me give me some of my opinion or thoughts that Ravi can get in this phase. So number one, initially he'll be a little shocked that we have lost a match, and slowly, okay, fine, anyway someone has to lose a match. Okay, so today we have lost the match. And third thing, and he is thinking that, yo, how my co-players will think of about my kind of talent. And he may even think that because of my bowling went wrong in this match, I may not be given a chance in the next match. Okay, and fourth thing, okay, whatever happens, so this might be a fault from my side. So if that's the case, I can work on it. So he next day itself he started working heavily in terms of training, in terms of emotional competence, how we have to keep our emotion during the last time when we are boarding the last over. So like that, he is making lots of mature possible issues that he can work on. Okay, this is one part of thinking. Okay, so this is part of a mature thinking. Okay, so he's expecting some kind of losses, okay, blame, but he is ready to handle it and ready to correct himself. This is one part. And second area, okay, so before coming to any mature thought, suddenly he get a thought, how audience would have felt when I bowl it. Okay. And when my bowling was a sixer. Okay, how the audience would have felt it. How audience would have scolded me. So if they have scolded me, then they won't like me in the other match. So if that is the case, how I will play in the next match? This kind of chain of immature thought that intervenes before a mature thought comes out. This is called automatic thoughts. Okay. The example, if you go a little upper in this slide, something called cognitive distortions that I told I will be explaining. So he is thinking that he is he's thinking that he is responsible for every loss happen. But okay, it's called overestimation of responsibility. How in here, how he can think rationally? Example, the opposite team supposed to score 300 runs, but when the opposite team needs 9 runs, he was given a chance for bowling the last over. He has given 9 runs in that match, but because of the 9 runs, he lost the match. Okay, he is taking responsibility that he is the only reason for the loss. But who gave the 291 runs? He's not thinking rationally. So this is called overestimation of responsibility. He is taking responsibility for everything and he is blaming himself for all the loss happen. Okay, this is called. So from that distortion, yeah, abnormal automatic thought or abnormal thought comes out. That is called automatic thought. Are you getting my point? Yeah. So first is core belief. From that, a pattern of thought arises, and this pattern of thought has some kind of distortion that is called distortion. From that, all the abnormal views, opinion about the self and surrounding comes out. That is called automatic thoughts. Okay. So if a man have a very poor core belief, okay, or non-rational core belief, and yeah, kind of very odd way of odd type of schemata, and producing lots and lots of cognitive distortion, from that lots of automatic thoughts arises. If that happens, this will significantly affect himself, blame himself. It will put himself into a significant guilt that will lead to a phase of a kind of feeling unhappy, feeling restless, feeling panic, feeling breathless. This kind of features will come out. This emotional state is called stress. So that's how we can psychologically conceptualize how the stress emerges slowly. Okay. So why I am explaining that deep in this area is, so as a counselor, whenever you are spotting a case of stress, you have to analyze all the possible factors that can lead to stress. That's one part. Second thing, what are his issues in terms of interpersonal relations? Second part. And deeper into the stress, you have to analyze what is his core belief, what is his schema, what is his probable cognitive distortion, and what is the automatic thoughts. You have to give many examples. Okay, in that event, what were your thoughts during when this event happened? Like that, you have to chart one by one about your automatic thoughts, and you have to challenge it. Do you think that you are the only loss for this match? No. So like that, you had slowly challenge one by one automatic thoughts and distortions. Now I am giving you some examples of cognitive distortions. Okay, so the first one is the overgeneralization. That means if something goes wrong now, and I am thinking that all the time it will go wrong only. So I am just overgeneralizing the one event to every future event. This is one thing. And second thing, jumping into conclusion. That means interpreting the meaning of situation with little or no evidence. So that means, hope you got it. So without much understanding or elaboration, you are just coming into conclusion of this, because of that only it happened. So this is called jumping into conclusions. And most commonly happens in interpersonal relations, mind reading. So you are just they have one expression and you are misinterpreting that expression, and you are thinking that this was the meaning of the expression. Example, interpreting the thought beliefs of others without adequate evidence. Example, uh, you are going to a mall, okay, and you are seeing a classmate who is a female, okay, in the first year of your MBBS or usual life, you are spotting a friend uh, in the mall. So he was not very high to you, okay. This is the event. Now we are thinking that why she has not waved a hi or bye to me. What happened? Did I do any mistake? Or some of my classmates message something bad to her without my knowledge. This kind of all immature thoughts comes out. Okay, so why it happened? You have wrongly understood one event. So if if she was if she was not kind of waving hi or bye to you, nothing wrong, isn't it? Okay, he or she might be busy. So even if she's not busy also, it is her right to say hi or bye to you. So in that sense, analyzing and misinterpreting this event and getting more and more automatic thoughts, that means very negative automatic thoughts, and kind of making yourself into a stressful state or negative state or a guilty state. So that's how cognitive distortion will lead to automatic thought and will lead to a stressful state. Okay, and there are other fortune telling and emotional reasoning. So example, you are analyzing every situation as emotional. Okay, example, I feel like a bad friend. Example, something bad happened and you're feeling that because of me only it happened, because of my behavior only it happened to you. So you're analyzing and assessing everything in an emotional way. This is called emotional reasoning. So it has a little deeper meaning, but for this kind of for this class, this amount of explanation is enough. But when we discuss about obsessive compulsive disorder, the overgeneralization, overestimation of threat, overestimation of responsibility will come in we have to understand a very detailed way. So in order to spot all those in therapy, okay, and yeah, these are the couple of distortion. But most commonly, you have to understand is the overgeneralization, jumping into conclusion, mind reading, and the last one, catastrophizing it. The example: if you interview an anxiety person, so what do they feel? So they always fear about the future, the next moment. So and they always see in a negative way. So that is called seeing the worst possible outcome from the situation. This is called catastrophization. Okay. Yeah. So these are the very important and kind of cognitive distortion that you can spot in people who are coming with a reason for stress to your counseling center. Okay. Okay. Now, so I told. So the base is the core belief or schemas, okay, and this can be a part of way you were brought up, or because of your personality, or it may be because of your stressful life in the childhood, and it could be kind of due to the genetic level changes, and that will lead to cognitive distortion that I explained, that will lead to negative automatic thoughts. It will lead to some physiological change. Example, feeling breathless, feeling kind of palpitation, feeling sweaty, feeling shaky, and you are dry, have a dryness of mouth. So all the physiological changes because of the thoughts, and that will lead to behavioral change. Example, you become anxious, fearful, and you are irritable. You are not making a good interpretation with the people because of the stress. So this is the whole chunk of the things that we have discussed. Okay, and the stressful state can come in two ways. Okay, first thing, an event can happen. So okay, the event is happening, and suddenly you are feeling an emotional state of being stressful, and you are developing a physiological changes like the palpitation, breathlessness, like that. This is one way of understanding the stress. And second thing, one event is happening and you are feeling both emotion and physiological changes of stress at the same time. Okay, in both the way you can experience the stress. Okay, so the thing that I have explained is the James Lange theory and Cannonball theory in understanding emotions. So I'm literally kind of explaining the stress through this theory. Okay, now, so first thing, okay, so let me explain something about defense mechanisms. So I have told something about coping, right? So coping is a voluntary conscious mechanism that you are putting in effort in order to handle your demands or stress. Okay, but that is conscious, but the defense mechanism is a kind of, it's a natural support in order to preserve your ego or your kind of a mental safety, but it might be mature and immature, both the way. But in order to preserve your egoic or a mental safety, there are something called defense mechanism. By nature, you are getting it. Example, um, some issue happened. Okay, so unconsciously you are denying that no, that it didn't happen. I have not done it. And sometimes you are as soon as you're ending up in a problem, you are projecting. That means you are putting the onus of cause to the other people. And the other thing that is called projection. And you have ended up in a issue, and you are now kind of explaining why it went wrong. It is called, so example, you are rationalizing your own mistake. It's the most common term people use, isn't it? That means you are giving reasons for your mistake to yourself. And when people ask also, you are telling the mistake, I have done the mistake, but why it happened, it is called rationalization. Okay. And some people would handle their kind of unconscious, they will handle through altruism. Okay, altruism means giving help or charity to people. And sense of humor, that is a kind of another way of handling your stress. And suppression and sublimation. Okay, these are the other ways of handling as a defense mechanism. Okay. um, Forgive and forget. And telling something in a much acceptable way when you are telling a differently unacceptable thing. So telling an unacceptable thing in an acceptable way, this is one of the type of defense mechanism. So these are all some explanation of defense mechanism. So I don't want to go deep into it because defense mechanism itself a very detailed topic. So only I'm just rushing through this. So why I'm keeping this slide is these are all the defense mechanism, that is they are unconscious. Okay, people inherently having this capacity of denial, projection, rationalization, rationalizing the issues. So you have to find it. Okay, because of this only this mechanism is working on. So now instead of working in the defense mechanism, rather you can teach them a good coping mechanism in order to handle those stress in a better way in the future. Okay, so for that only I have kept this slide. Okay, now hope you might be having a fair idea about what is stress. So now we are going into the management part. Okay, so I have 6 or 7 slides in terms of management of stress. Okay, um, first thing, so I will explain something kind of biologically how stress happens and what is stress and how stress can be handled. Okay, I'm going little kind of neurobiologically into it. Okay, first thing, so this is amygdala, and this part is called hippocampus, and this is the frontal part of the brain. Okay, so amygdala is a fear sensor. Hippocampus is the recorder where it encodes memories for its long-term sustenance. And this frontal area will be related, psychologically will be related to logical and reasoning. So that helps in making the coping skill. Okay, 3 parts you need to remember. Now, you know, some kind of stress is happening. That means the reason might be you are unable to handle that. So you are getting restless and you are getting fearful. So as soon as a task that you are not aware of is given to you, you will become anxious. So that hippocampal is sensed that you become fear sensor. Okay, yo, I don't know this task, how I'm going to finish it in a particular time frame, or I will be scolded if someone is scolding you. So suddenly you become very much upset and fearful and anxious. So your amygdala is very much sensitive. Okay, now you are not handling those stressor in a proper kind of provocative way. Rather, you every time you are getting anxious. So the anxiety will be recorded again and again in the hippocampus, and in the long run, it will become your personality where you will, whether you complete this task or not, but you will be fearful until you complete this task. So that's how the neurological habituation occurs. Okay, now, this is one way. The other way, so you become fearfully sensed because of the task. Now you are thinking, what are the possible options? How I can work it on? Okay, I don't know how to work on this. I need to get a help from this man. So you are going there, and in a short time you are getting some idea, and now you are working on it. Okay, so fear came, and instead of kind of moving away from the stress, you thought of working on it through a proper channel, how to learn, how to handle it. So now fear followed by a good manner you have learned how in handling the stress. This memory will be there for a long time. That will help you, okay, help you in handling the same stress or same type of stress in the future. Okay, that's how neurological habituation happens in a good way. Now you can ask, yeah, stress is every stress is kind of not a similar stimuli. Okay, so you are learning from one stress, okay, and through logic and reasoning, that is connection through this frontal lobe that I explained, you are applying the same good way of handling the stress for multiple stressors in your life. Okay, so now I will define what is neuroplasticity. Okay, example, one neuron is here, another neuron is example, one neuron. So this is the neuron from hippocampus or amygdala, and this is the neuron from the frontal lobe. I told you this is related to logic, reasoning, and working memory. Now, after learning a proper coping skill to handle this, okay, this neuron easily communicating with this neuron in the frontal lobe. So neuroplasticity is defined as the ease at which one neuron communicate with each other. That's how biologically coping helps you in handling the current task and the future task. Got it? It will be a little clear if I go to the next slide. Okay. So sorry, that image is not complete. Okay. So this is one of the concept that I have taken from one book called Brain-Based Parenting. Okay. So they have explained this concept in terms of child-parent interaction, that I am same thing I am explaining for handling the stress. Now see, I told people are always fearful. There is amygdala dominance. I told a part of the brain called amygdala, which is always a fear anxious sensor. Okay. Now they have learned a good strategy in order to handle the stress here. Okay. It might be kind of going deep, sitting, analyzing, and finishing the task. That is one thing. Second thing, uh, instead of being anxious, distracting he or himself or herself from that stress, taking some gap and then working on it in a very kind of detailed way in order to cope the same stress. So these are all happening here. So same this kind of coping happenings here. So example, become very stressful after they receive the task. Now they are going to any prayer, and or they are doing some yoga, or they are doing some kind of breathing or relaxation exercises. Okay, now they become little free and they are able to handle the same task again. Okay, so initially they were highly fear sensed. Now they learned something through the coping mechanism that was embedded in the hippocampus, and together, whenever the stress comes for next time, the amygdala will not be sensed for fear. Rather, it will activate the hippocampus for the memory traces, and that memory traces will give you an idea how to handle this further in this stress in the future. That lead to the whole modulation of the frontal lobe, so that you are handling a stress in a mature way in the future. So this process is called coping. So neurobiologically, coping involves every neurobiological. So your neurology getting habituated to a mature action in the future. That's how the coping. That's how the coping explained in a neurobiological way. Okay. So now you can ask how the medicine does it. So example, the neurons are unable to communicate with the other neuron with an ease. Okay, so because the reason for that may be the lack of serotonin, on chemical neurotransmitter in the brain. So the example, they are depressed, so serotonin is reduced. So now we are giving medicine to increase serotonin. So now neurons are ready to, okay, communicate with each other in an easier way, but for that you have to do the task. Okay, so now the chemical is ready, but action is not happened. So that action will be slowly, gradually committed through the therapy. Okay, you'll be giving a task and you'll be giving an assignment and giving you a profile of management, how you have to go further in order to manage the stress again in the life. So the medicine increases the chemical part, and your therapy will giving you a task, okay, that will utilize that chemical in order to create a memorable trace in the hippocampus, so that it will be utilized in further stress in your future. Okay, so that means stress is a part of your life. Okay, so every stress will, example, you have been through lots of stress, but by the end of every stress, you'll be getting a new idea or new learning. So that learning, okay, will give you a better idea of approaching the same stress in the future. Example, you might be handling the same stress in a very easier way. Okay, so that's how the neuroplasticity evolves in terms of coping and handling the stress. Okay, so this is some understanding about the management. So how the our therapy or counseling works. So in the management, the first part is establish a proper rapport with the client. Okay, and analyze the case longitudinally. Consider all factors as per the our biological, social, biopsychosocial model, and chart out all the factors which can be a kind of probable precipitating factor for his stress. So ask the client whether he or she has any plans of handling it. If there's a case, then you can kind of take forward from that plan, whether if it is really possible, because people would have think through about their problem and they might be having some couple of plans, so you can take it forward from that plan itself. And most importantly, people should not be preoccupied with the stress, okay, all the time in the day. So that you have to give a proper day structuring, how you have to structure a day. There should be some kind of a routine that you have to do, so that you can just distract your stress towards something. So this is a kind of activity scheduling chart, and you have to give an activity scheduling depend upon his profile of work, and then you can ask what are things you have done in the next sessions. Okay, and management number two. Okay, this is very, 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 very important. Okay, before going to the intervention part. Okay, you have to give him a relaxation strategy. So okay, number one is the breathing exercise. It can be there is a relaxation exercise. It can be a breathing exercise or it can be a JPMR. JPMR is called Jacobson's progressive muscular relaxation exercise. Okay, so now what is breathing exercise? People are in a very stressful state and you are telling that you have to do breathing exercise. How they have to do? Okay, they have, so first thing, so there are many ways of doing it. Okay, so you can advise them, keep your right hand in the chest, left hand in the abdomen, close your eyes. Okay, take a deep breath, then exhale. Okay, so this thing, okay, they have to do it for some minimum of 10 to 15 times. Okay, slowly, 3 times a day. Okay, that will actually control the emotion of being stressful. Okay, this is one thing. Second thing is Jacobson's progressive muscle exercise. It has many steps. Example, the step number one, I'm telling. So we have to ask the client to stand or sit in front of you like this, keeping their hands in the desk. Now they have to bend their neck, close their eyes, and they have to feel the contraction happening in the neck for some time. Then they have to slowly release. Now they have to understand the relaxation. By doing that, that feeling of being emotional or stressful will come down. So this is the first step. So the same exercise is for the right, left, and for the shoulders, and in all the joints almost. So actually, the JPMR itself, to complete it, it will take a minimum 40 minutes to do it. But for people who have panic disorders, very frequent stressful state, and other common mental disorders, where people are always noticed to be stressful, it has a very great impact. So if you want to know more about this JPMR, you can actually go through the YouTube, and there are many people who actually given a working manual how to do the JPMR. The first thing. And second thing. Third thing is kind of body scan. Example, when people become stressful, some people will feel very restless or uneasy in the chest palpitation. Some people will feel very uneasy in the face. So what we have to do is you have to do the same breathing exercise. So like this, and close the eyes, slowly breathing in and out. Along with that, you have to scan your body where you feel most stressful. Okay, then in the next breathing you have to feel that, okay, I am going to release that stress from that area through my exhalation. That's how the body scan progresses. Okay, and fourth thing is it can be a long-term process and it can be a prevention measure also. So that is called doing as much as physical exercise, whatever amenable for your body, you have to do it. Yoga and lots of kind of samadhana centers like Valgala Modern and many NGOs that are there in order to teach you some kind of good breathing health and breathing practices and yoga practices. So all things will help you in calming yourself down. Okay. And so what all these kind of exercises will do for you? The thing is, it will cause a reciprocal inhibition. Example, you are thinking about this. Okay. Example, a task, this is a target. Okay, you are always thinking in this manner. Okay, this way. Okay, this way making yourself stressful, you are restless. Now you are doing a exercise, breathing exercise. Now the conduction shuns from here and going through here and it reaches the target. Example, the stress is taken out, your autonomic system is not stimulated. So instead of going through one neuron, two neuron, the target, okay, it goes through one neuron, the other neuron, and ending it. So through the through your kind of breathing exercise, okay, a different channel of conduction happens where you will get an idea how to cope with this also, and you are finally ending up completing the task, so that you are getting relieved of stress. So that's how all this breathing, JPMR, body scan, and exercises does. Okay. So third thing, introspection. So ask the client to enlist his strength or weakness, work on the factors to greater his strength, and work on the factors to modify or alter or replace the weakness. Okay. And there is some questionnaire called strength and difficulty questionnaire. So you can give that questionnaire and you can actually analyze his responses in terms of his strength and weakness. So issue here is people may reluctant to accept their weaker side and being grandiose about their weakness. So if that's the case, you are actually ending up in argument. So and make sure that you are handling a personality disorder. Okay. And in that sense, you can actually evaluate a little bit and you can actually refer to a psychologist or psychiatrist, because these are the important part of his personalities. Okay. People might be anxious also, and people might be in other ways so defensive also. In that sense, some personality things are going on or some severe issues are going on. So in that sense, instead of creating giving a way for making arguments, you can actually refer to psychiatrist to start properly on medications, and later you can handle this with a counseling. And fourth is coping strategies that I told. So just if you understand the definition, you can you get a better idea what is coping. So the coping is defined as thoughts and behavior used to manage the internal and external demands of a situation that are appraised as stressful. Hope you got it. So what you can do, you can distract from that stress. Okay. And you can engage in pleasurable activities, number one, and you can develop a healthy way of behavior in terms of handling those issues in the future. And third thing, basic life skills and mindfulness, I think we can explain in a different session in terms of counseling and other therapy skills, and correcting their cognitive distortion. Example, the coping will handle all parts of your behavioral issues, from the core belief. Second is the schema, and you look on the automatic thoughts. So this kind of coping mechanism will handle all the things and will help you in handling the same stress in a much mature or better way in the future. Okay. So you can see in the, so the finally the coping, see, so after proper developing a proper coping skill, it will help in correcting the current distortions and automatic thoughts. So and it will end up in preventing these physiological and behavioral changes which are happening as a part of these issues. So and management, number 5, is a very important thing. So people are stressful, they have lots of worries about the future. Okay. Now bring them. Okay. You can kind of evaluate, explore more about their worries, and you can divide those worries into two types: type worry, type 1 worry, and type 2 worry. Type 1 worry is a worry where the task has some kind of solutions. Okay. So if there's a case, there's easy solutions available. So for that, he need to build up some good way of handling it. So teach them coping skills. Okay, so that will invariably, certainly will handle the worry. That is called type 1 worry. So you have divided. Type 2 worry. Okay, so 90% of the issue in our life doesn't have any solutions. So that is the type 2 worry. We don't have any solutions. Rather, he is persistently worrying about the same. So what you can advise is, we can give him a worry time. So you tell him that every day between 5 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. only you have to worry. After that, you should have to take care of the other things. You should not worry for all the time, because we are unable to stop him in terms of worrying. Rather, we are giving a scheduled time for worrying. So what will happen? So 5 o'clock he started worrying, 5:30 he is stopping worrying, and he thinks that, okay, instead of giving a scheduled time for worrying itself, what can we build as some good ways of handling the same issues in the future? So like that, this kind of cognition will develop if you give him a worry time. So this is called type 1 and type 2 worries and the ways of handling it. Actually, this model is actually adapted from the management of generalized anxiety disorder, but we can actually adopt the same way of handling those things for management of stress also. And management number 6. So if you are out of any options, so I told you, so not all the issues in your life have solutions. So in that sense, the two important ways that we can handle it, we can just ignore the stress, number one, and we can distract from the significant stressful thinking. Okay, so understand well. So getting distracted from the stressful thing is the major mature way of handling it. Because even if you want to make solution also, for a certain period of time, you need to be distract from that stressful phase, so that you can make a possible solution to work on it. So the ignore and distract is a very important advice that you need to give to your clients. Okay, so management number 7. So if nothing works, so just inquire about his quality of life, biological, social, occupation function affected or not. If it is affected and the illness is gradually worsening one by a day, and the patient becomes suicidal, then it is a red alert. So this is a time to refer to a psychiatrist, okay, to help them better. And you can give the helpline number also. Okay, so here I completing my session on stress. I'm unable to do great justice for this topic, because a very broad topic and it includes many domains. So as a summary, what you need to understand is, what is stress, what is the mechanism behind it, okay, and how you can summarize the psychological way of origin of the stress, okay, and in the counseling sessions, what you have to understand, okay, and what you have to do for your client. So I have told 6 or 7 ways of managing it. So, and the 8th way I have not separately kept it here, but the 8th way is, you have to go little more cognitive way in understanding their core belief or distortion and automatic thoughts, and you have to challenge their thoughts, and you have to give an alternate mature thoughts, okay, so that they can adapt this kind of mature way in handling the same type of stress in the future. Okay, actually it's a very big process in terms of doing a psychotherapy, but I am summarized in a very simple way. So you have to identify the cognitive distortion and automatic thoughts with more and more example from his life, and then you have to challenge one by one, and you have to give an alternate model of understanding it or handling it, or alternate way of thinking in a mature way. Okay, so this completes my session. Thanks a lot for listening. So for your queries, kindly put your queries in the comments, and we will be having a 1 or 1.5 hour session in a couple of days to discuss your concern and doubts further. Thank you.